This.
Okay, good morning or good afternoon. This depends on where you are. I see folks joining. Hey, Mark.
Hello.
Hey.
Hello, Liz. Hello, Walter. Sophia. Jason Victor Serenas. And the staff at AXPONA.
Okay, I see folks joining. It's pretty cool. All right, so where's everyone calling in from or joining us from? I'm from Connecticut today.
Connecticut.
Port Townsend, Washington, where it's been raining.
I'm up here in Boston having another cold day.
I'm in Chicago, which is actually warm today, which is nice.
That's nice. No, it's cold today on the East Coast. Okay, I see lots of folks joining. Give everyone a couple more minutes before we get started. Okay. Or just another minute. We've got a pretty good crowd. We're up to almost 20. So get started pretty soon.
Well, I'll just share that I've helped someone in the industry put together a playlist. They were doing a demonstration for opera people, and they contacted me for an opera playlist. And I just got a text that said, "The Björling brought down the house." Yes, Jussi Björling singing Nessun Dorma. Ha! So much for all your other tenors. Listen to how Björling does it back in 1944. Okay, that dated me.
Do you put the playlist together on Qobuz?
I've asked him to send it to me because David has been begging me for a playlist for Qobuz for years, and it's all from Qobuz. And so I said, oh my God, I finally created the playlist. So he will send it to me, and then I'll put it on Qobuz.
Yeah, that would be great.
We always put our playlist
on there. Mark's done that a few times.
Yeah, we put together a playlist. Yeah.
Well, it looks like you've kind of peaked. It looks
Okay.
like participants.
Yeah, no, all right, let's get started. Okay, so welcome to the top tips for exhibiting success at AXPONA, where we have members of the AXPONA team and a few panel members are going to share tips on how to make your time at the show a success and reach your goals. I'm Liz Smith. I'm the event director for AXPONA. I'm joined here with my colleague Mark Freed, who most of you know. And we also have Walter Schofield with Nexus Audio Technologies, Sophia Lapat, who is AXPONA's publicist and handles PR for many clients in the Chicago area and beyond, and Jason Victor Serenas from Stereophile. So thank you everyone for joining us. We're really excited to offer this today. I'll just start off by saying that we're gonna, I'll do a little housekeeping notes, and I'm gonna share some info about the AXPONA audience, and then it's gonna go to Walter, then Jason, and then Sophia. Please save all of your questions for the end. We're gonna try to leave lots of time for Q&A because we feel like, you know, some of the most valuable information really does come from questions. So you can use that Q&A function. Actually, feel free to type them in. We're just going to answer them at the end. If you have any tech questions, feel free to type them in the chat. We are recording this today, so if you feel like another member of your team, if it's going to be valuable for them, we'll send out the information so you can watch it again or share it with somebody. And if you have a question that's not covered today, that's maybe a little more operations focused, just feel free to put that in the chat as well, and we'll make sure a team member gets back to you. All right, Mark, anything you want to add before we get started?
No, it's just that we have about 200 rooms and another 150 booths out there. There's so many brands. There's so many people coming, and I'm sure we'll get. I think maybe Liz, you have some numbers and maybe some demographics, but this is going to be a big show, and we just want you to maximize it. And there's a lot of opportunities to do that. So, Liz, take it from there.
I'll take it. Okay, so I wanted to share a little info about the audience that you're going to meet at the show, just to help kind of set the stage. We focus most of our marketing efforts on attracting new attendees to the show. So on a yearly basis, around 40 to 50% of the ticket buyers are new. And so far this year, we're tracking the same way with about 43% of the ticket buyers as new. So that means that the person who purchases the ticket, they're new. I don't know everyone because you might bring a friend, and so I don't have all of that data, but it means that you're meeting a new audience. Also, last year, about 10% of our ticket buyers were under the age of 34, and over 30% were under the age of 50. So we really are bringing in a younger audience. We're trying to build awareness of this industry, of this hobby, with a new audience for everyone. And it's happening. We're seeing that every year. I mean, anecdotally, last year, I saw more women at the show. I saw more families. I saw a more diverse audience. I saw younger people. We reach out to all of the local colleges and universities and offer free passes to students. We have a Gen Z pass. So what does that mean for everyone? We just want to share that, a large percentage of the folks that are going to walk into your exhibit, walk into your room, they're going to be new to AXPONA, maybe new to an audio show, and possibly, new to this world for the first time. So, keep that in mind when you're preparing your demonstration, when you're thinking about like how you're presenting and kind of like what you're explaining in your room. Also, your next customer might not be who you expect. Myself and everyone on the team, we actually survey all of our attendees. We get a really great response rate, and we read every single comment. And, I can share from talking with folks and also from the surveys that, a lot of folks kind of feel like if they're maybe like a woman or a younger attendee, that maybe like they're not the one that the exhibitor expected to be their next customer or be. So just keep in mind that, a lot of people are coming to the show to buy, and your next customer might not be who you expect. Another really good tip is, body language matters, and how you present yourself in the room matters. I know show hours are long. We're there too. You do setup, you have long days, and so it can get tiring. But if whoever's working in your room, if you're kind of sitting in the back corner on your phone, it's not as welcoming. So just kind of think about that, how to keep energy up all day, how to have a welcoming environment. It really does make a difference.
I'd like to actually add another thing that I think not enough exhibitors that I see, not only at our show, but I see at other events, I don't think people pay attention enough to lighting. So think about, the experience that you want them to have, and the bringing your own lighting rather than, using the lights that the venue has is something that I'm asking people to think more about, because it really plays a big part in the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. You're creating an environment. Another big theme in the surveys is always about music, having a variety of genres in your room. Taking requests when at all possible. I know that there is a balance with trying to showcase your system and also having, variety in a playlist, but just thinking about that. Even myself, as I walk down the hallway of an audio show, sometimes hearing a unique track or something that you didn't expect, it can draw you in a room. It creates, it makes, I don't know, it really does. It draws you in the room. It creates an inviting atmosphere, and being surprised just really can help with just make a connection. Also think about traffic drivers, having a giveaway, sharing new products or special events in your room, maybe even having a special guest. All of that gives us information for you to promote your exhibit, and for us to also share extra information, which can really make your exhibit a destination at the show. And really, you know, you're the host, so create that experience and be engaging. Anything else you want to add, Mark? Put you on the spot.
No, that's good. That's
Okay.
good. No?
All right. So those are my top tips from the team. So I'm going to turn it over to Walter.
Hey, Liz, Mark, Jason, Sophia. Thanks for having me, folks at AXPONA. Really appreciate it. And welcome, exhibitors. So what I'm going to convey is perhaps Captain Obvious to some of you seasoned exhibitors. But it's a formula that over the years we've developed. And again, I expect that some of you will already know most of, if not all of, the information. But it's been successful for anybody that I've worked with and or my current company to get attention. And the question really is, you know, who do you want to attract? What do you want to accomplish at the show? Obviously, the folks at AXPONA do a very good job of attracting end users who come to the show to look at exhibits and see new things. And I've been very encouraged to see families coming to shows, these regional shows, children, younger people. It's not just the audiophiles coming to shows at this point in time. So with AXPONA doing such a good job attracting the end users, my focus has been on how to best prepare for the press to get them to your exhibit and then to get coverage post-show, which you can then broadcast to your dealers, distributors, whomever. And the formula is really quite simple. We will draft a press release prior to the show, and it's really important to cover because this is, and Jason, I think will confirm this later, this is what the press is looking for. They're looking for something new that hasn't necessarily been covered before, a new product, new whatever it might be. So if you've got something new, you really want to highlight that in your press release. Something that is being shown for the very first time, perhaps a product debut at the show where it hasn't been seen in North America before or has been seen casually elsewhere. Is it a unique product? Does it fit into a category that hasn't been done before? We see a lot of unique products out there all of the time. You know, what are you showing? We want to attract the press to your room, and those are the things that attract them. What we would normally do is send the press release out to the press list provided by AXPONA approximately 4 weeks before the show, and then also about a week before the show itself. I see many people distributing or reminding the press 2 or 3 days before the event. Don't do that. They're on their way. They've got other things that they're preparing for. They're looking at who they're going to be visiting at the show. Send it a week beforehand. It's a good time to do it. Also, I myself and my PR associate, Adam Somer of Somer and Associates, we do a lot of research into best timing to put out press releases, anything that you want to have gain attention. And quite frankly, if you look at it, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are always best. Mondays, people are catching up after the weekend. They're not really paying that much attention. On Fridays, they're leaving for the weekend. So a Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is the best time to send out a press release or whatever you want to send out to whatever audience. Also, that particular press release, you can derive an email and social media post from it. And sending out to your social media contacts via Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I think it's now called X. I'm not a big Twitter X guy, but make sure that you consistently send those messages out right up until the day before the show and even the day of, to attract an audience via your social media feeds. And you definitely want to make sure that in that post that you say where you are. I see a lot of posts, come visit us at AXPONA. What room are you in? Put the room. Try to list the components that are there within the room, so you can, people that want to hear something specific will see that. Put as much information as possible into a concise message via social media. Consistent posting regarding products on display. Where are you at the show? Just make sure that you do that. Relative to the show itself, it is extremely important that you have a list of components being shown, what they are, and what the pricing is. When a reviewer comes into your room, they're going to ask you those questions. What am I looking at? How much is it? And you need to be prepared to have that immediately to hand to them. What I normally do is I will take and have a separate section or area on my website or a page, something that I can hand to a consumer as well as a reviewer that has a QR code on it that will lead you to the listing of all of the components in the room and the pricing of the components. If you don't have a QR code available, if you can't adapt your website or do something that a QR code can lead to that, have a printed list of what's at the show, what you're displaying, what the full model is of every component, including the amplification, source ancillaries, loudspeakers, cabling, even perhaps the rack that it is on, okay? Everything needs to be on there, and you need to be able to hand that to somebody, because what you don't want to be doing is going over that at the show, because it's not likely a reviewer is going to come into the room when nobody else is there, and you're going to have to stop and pause and give them all that information. I think that that's extremely important. Also, business handouts. Something that you have that a consumer can leave the room with. And again, something touting your particular business. If you're a distributor, if you're a retailer, a brand management person, whomever, have something for a consumer to leave the room with that has a QR code that goes back to either your Facebook page, your website, so that they can find you later, right? You want them to remember the demo. You want them to remember who you are. And if they've got something that they're interested in your room, when they're going through everything they've collected after the show, you want to have something that gets them back to your information. Most of the time, people will go back to the website, do a QR code, perhaps to the page where the product that is being shown is highlighted, but make sure that you have a handout to hand to end users. At the show, it's really important. I see so many, this, it's kind of a well-known thing in the industry that everything sounds best on the last day of the show, after everything is broken in and been running for a while. You love it when a reviewer comes in like 2 hours before the close of the show. They're going to hear the system sound its best. Please, whatever speakers you're using, break them in prior to the show. There's nothing worse than bringing a fresh set of boxed loudspeakers to the show and breaking them in at the show. You know, you can't really set up until Thursday. You're going to get a maximum of, 18, 20 hours onto the speakers. Run them through, break them in before you come to the show. Electronic components, I think it's widely considered that, if you turn them on for a couple of hours, they tend to be at their best. Sometimes after a couple of days, they sound their best. But that's, less important. So yeah, break in your speakers, please. I've seen so many displays that on Friday you listen to it and it's like, well, that sounds okay. Saturday it's better, and then Sunday it's at its best. I cannot emphasize this one highly enough. I walk into many rooms where people are just playing music. That's it. There's no interaction between the people manning the room and the people walking into the room. Please do the demo. Take a couple of moments to explain what they're listening to. What I usually say when somebody walks into the room, we've got a full crowd, and I'll start by saying, nobody wants to listen to me. They came here to listen to music. But give me a minute or two to explain to you what's in the room. Talk about the components. 1 or 2 highlights per component. These speakers are from this brand. They cost this much. Here are a couple of bullet points regarding why they're incredible. Same thing with all the other products in your room. Narrow it down to 1 or 2 bullet points. Nobody wants to hear why your tweeter is better for 45 minutes, right? We get it. People are proud of the components that they put out there, but they're there to listen to, and they've got many, many rooms to go to. So make the presentation of what you have for a system or systems in the room as brief as possible. Keep it to about 2 minutes. Pick 1 or 2 bullet points per component. Include the cabling, include the ancillaries, the source material, the sources, whatever rack. And I say that because, a lot of racks are very expensive, and a lot of people tend to omit that from their presentation. It's really, really important to stand up in front of the crowd and interact with them. Humor goes a long way. Like I said, at the end of my 2-minute presentation, I will say, well, okay, we're going to listen to some music now. And I say, well, that usually brings applause. Hey, stop talking and let's play some music here. So very important to do the demo. Signage is important, both outside of the room and sometimes inside of the room. Pop-up displays are extremely important relative to what they're listening to. Impressions are extremely important. It's a conventional wisdom in the marketing world that it takes 6 to 7 times for somebody to see an ad or a brand name before they consider reacting. So signage, and as much as you can do to get the brand names of the products that you're putting out there, or your entity, whether it be a dealer, an exhibitor, a distributor, it's really important to have that shown as much as possible out there. It's also a good idea to perhaps conduct an after-hours event. There's been times when I have publicized such an event prior to the event, and you need to do that consistently. Sending communications out to the AXPONA press list that they have prepared is extremely important to get people to come by. When the show closes at 6 o'clock, you can have some light hors d'oeuvres, maybe some beer and wine. And it has worked extremely well for us to capture a good pre-dinner audience during one evening of the show. Just recently at a show that I attended a couple of weeks ago, we had a really, really good crew of reviewers and even some end users popped by that had been in the room multiple times. And we had a great time. People hung around for a couple of hours, listened to music, take requests, and it's always a wonderful thing to do. It doesn't cost a lot, and it gets you some really good attention. So The other thing that's extremely important is to attract end users that are significantly interested in the product. For instance, I had one gentleman come by 3 or 4 times at the last show I attended. He now has a product that I represent in his home. So it's extremely important to identify potential end users / customers. Make sure they have the contact information for you. If you're working with a dealer, the dealer's contact information, and to maintain that contact post-show to see if you can help get some sales for whoever you might be associated with. That's important as well. So that's what I have. And again, I know a lot of that is Captain Obvious to a lot of you, but that's the formula that I work with. Press release, what's new, what's being shown, send it out 4 weeks prior, about a week prior to that. Make sure you have the price list ready for the press. Social media, get that out there consistently, Facebook, Instagram, X, etc. Make sure you can post where you are at the show, where they know to find you. Business handouts, make sure that there's something everybody leaves with that they can get back to you at. Break in the gear, do the demo. Don't just sit there and play music. I know people, that's what they're coming in for, but they want to hear from you. That interaction makes it personal. A possible after-hours evening event, signage, all of that combined is what I've found works quite well to take advantage of exhibiting at a wonderful show like AXPONA. I'm very, very, very proud and humbled to be associated with AXPONA as an advisor. And these folks are doing everything they can and succeeding at it to, in my opinion, make this the premier show in North America. So thanks again, folks at AXPONA. I really appreciate it. I will see all of you in about 6 weeks. And if anybody has any questions at all that's in the audience, please feel free to email me, call me, text me. I'll be happy to help out. And thanks again for having me, folks. Very appreciate it.
Thanks, Walter. So like really great tips there. So now I'm going to turn it over to Jason to kind of talk from the media perspective.
So I was trying to think. I'm trusting that everyone has seen Showing Your Best, which is the retails page that Jim Austin and I did together, which is kind of a rare collaboration. And there was a lot to put in that page, and it was hard to get it all in. So it's not exactly a fun page. It's like get down to brass tacks. But there's a lot of solid information in there. Hold on one second. I need to close the door because there's cooking downstairs. Ta-da! So, I've been thinking about I was thinking about feng shui. So here I am. I haven't gotten enough sleep, and I'm going into a room. And I'm thinking about some of those really crowded rooms. So the first thing that happens is I have to get into the room. And in fact, I have 2 people from the 2 exhibitors who are blocking my entrance, talking with someone, and I can't even get past them to get in. So it's already like that has happened. Then I'm looking around for a seat. And sometimes I'm in a place where it's very crowded, but things are ordered, things are under control. And then there are other times when, I don't know any other way to describe it than it's a mess. I remember one Rocky Mountain, I tried to get into one room twice. And the second time, there was a woman who was working there, and I turned to her because she was right by the door, and I said, I've been trying to cover this room, but every time I come in, everybody's talking, and I can't listen. I can't do anything. She said, oh, we're talking here all the time. I said, thank you, and that room never got covered. It was that simple. I've gone into other rooms where, some presenters really like to hear themselves talk, and they give 15-minute presentations, and they're impenetrable. So what Walter said is, yes, do a thingy, get in key information, get in your bullet points, but don't go on and on and on and on and on. And I've noticed, I mean, we all get tired, and by day 3, because some exhibitors have been partying late, etc., people just start getting, going on even longer. And it's very hard for someone in the press who's trying to do their job. Walter mentioned, please break in your speakers. Well, I perfectly understand that all of your equipment may not be broken in because you just finished it the night before, especially if you're a small manufacturer and you just did the last soldering and you arrived on 3 hours sleep. Oh, and you had a flat tire on the way, and so you started your setup 4 hours late. Nonetheless, if I don't know that it isn't broken in, my impression is what I hear. If I'm told we didn't, and you don't have to make a big deal of it, but if people are told, not only me, but other people, this hasn't really settled in yet, it hasn't broken in yet, that really helps because I can make allowances. Because sometimes I'll walk in and I'll even turn to someone and say, like if it's a CD player, is this broken in? Because the sound is like stiff to me. It's not flowing, and I can sense that. So there are situations that invite me in and that excite me, and there are situations that, and all of us are different. I'm a very feeling person. If you read my reviews, if you read Stereophile, because a lot of people don't, you will have discovered that my strong point is not going on and on about technical things and single-ended triode versus, etc. But rather than talking about how music makes me feel, how listening to this component makes me feel. So I'm walking in, and as straight-faced as I may be, and as guarded as I may be, those feelers are open. And, they're like that flower that is just blooming and it wants its pollen to be spread and it's waiting for someone. And so, things are there and I'm waiting. The only thing I want to say about Walter's feedback that I have a slight problem with is QR codes versus printed sheets. And that's for a very simple reason. If we're trying to write while we're at a show, we're on a laptop. We may have a 13, 15, or at the most 16-inch screen. And we have our document. Then we're required to open a QR code, which is to open up a website. Then there's other stuff. And the other thing is we're trying to write fast. If I have a printed sheet that not only gives me the name and the price, but tells me a few very important things about the equipment and the technical stuff that I can summarize easily along with my notes, it really, really helps. It makes it much easier for me. The article talks about lighting and things like that. Now, people who know me have known that I've wanted to take a picture of something, and I spend several minutes organizing it for you because I know how the shot's going to look. And I say, wait, we have to move this stuff out of the way. Here, bring the sign in here, do this, do that. That takes up time. Think about that, try to do that. Try to keep your literature piles neat. Now, the problem is with having handouts is that everybody wants them, they take them, and by the last day of the show, the press walks in and you say, I'm sorry, I just gave out my last price sheet. Were you to instead, and that's my husband, everybody say hello to David.
Hi.
If instead there were a sheet that were easy to photograph, that was easy to photograph on the wall or the door, where I didn't have to move 5 times because people were walking past me, I have a really good smartphone. I have an iPhone 15 Pro Max that I bought specifically for shows with a really good camera. It's better in low light, things like that. It's better when zooming, and I can take a picture of that, and that's good. But if I have a sheet here and I'm typing, I can look at my screen, I can look it down on my sheet, and you've made it easier for me. So those are some of the things. There are lots and lots of other points. It has to do with music, and that's the last thing I think I'll say. Mark Phillips wrote a really good piece once when he was a distributor. Now he's an editor at not Positive Feedback, the part-time audiophile. And I hope I have that right. Sorry, Mark, if I don't. And he wrote about the fact that once somebody came into his room and gave him an absolute shit CD, and he was making this exhibitor happy, or this visitor happy, and a reviewer came in, walked in, heard the sound, made a face, and walked out. Yeah, this one's tough. This one's tough because we're all on time limits, etc., and picking the music. But then again, I wrote an As We See It called Keith, Please Go. And it is true. I've invited a friend who's 52. I've invited a dog walker who's 26. And when I say, what do you want to hear? They actually want to hear Dark Side of the Moon. I mean, it is very, very universal. But then on the other hand, people know I'm a classical music reviewer. And I walk in and they say, how about Scheherazade? From Living Stereo. And I realized very soon that this exhibitor has a top 5 classical playlist, and they don't listen to anything and they don't care. I've gone into rooms where people offer me the iPad, and I look at it, and it's clear from the dates of the recording that they stopped putting together their playlist in 1994. And Liz is talking about younger people coming to the show. This is why they're going to the headphone exhibit. I mean, you don't have to play, the worst example of hip hop under the sun, but you could throw in a Britney Spears once in a while. You could throw in some Beyonce. I mean, it won't kill you. These people are selling millions upon millions upon millions of records. People know their name, even if they don't know the music, even if they've never listened to it. It's a way to bring people in and be more universal and mix things up. So ultimately, it's about balance. And Walter is very good, and many people are really good at balancing. And it's also about control. You are going to have an attendee who is very interested in showing everybody in the room how much, and it's invariably a he, how much he knows. And he is going to impress everyone by asking you every possible technical question. He is going to hijack your demo. And you need to find a way to gracefully disengage and get back to playing music for everybody else. You have to find a way to hold on conversations. We were talking before this started, and I'll finish with this. When I was in Warsaw, I mean, people are different than people in the US. And I walked into a room with well over 100 people all up against the back wall, people not able to get in. I'm sitting in the middle of the room, and I can hear a presenter who is not yelling, who has a modestly sized voice, because people are respectful. Unfortunately, we have a culture in this country that has been fostered by certain people in both showbiz and politics, which often combine, where you think everything is a great big football field, and you have to find a way to maintain control and maintain some kind of sense of grace. I don't know how, I wouldn't be the best person to do it. I'll be perfectly honest. It would not be my forte, and it may not be yours. But just keep that goal in mind, and thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Okay, Sophia, share some tips.
Yes, for sure. Thanks for having me. I've been actually working on AXPONA. I think this is my 9th year, which is amazing. It went by very fast. And I think what's amazing about AXPONA is I've seen it grow over the years, and in terms of exhibitors, but also media. This year, I think we have about 125 media pre-registered for AXPONA. And that's everyone from trade press to consumer press. We get people from Chicago, from CS Magazine, Chicago Tribune, and we also get a lot of YouTubers. So the YouTubers are coming in to see the room, see the exhibitors, what's new, what's exciting. And I think that is just how the industry has evolved. And it's exciting to see, how videos are really very popular right now. We're here. I work with Natalie Stanachuk, so she's kind of my partner on AXPONA PR. We do a lot to help our exhibitors, and I think that's the most important thing for us is working with you to promote your products, promote your brand, promote your story. Number one is a PR survey. So that's kind of our first entry into what's new. We send out a PR survey to all the exhibitors. It'll outline what's new, what are you bringing, tell us a little bit about your brand, where are you located, are you a female owned, are you Chicago based? So these kind of tidbits give me and Natalie ideas to pitch the media, and also images. I would say sometimes we get surveys without images, and that's hard for us because we want to make sure we're putting your best foot forward. So that is including images and social media posts. We do at least one social media post for each exhibitor. And honestly, I've just finished up our March schedule and it's jam-packed. So we have gotten some really great content, which is exciting. And we really want to make sure that while you're doing your own social media, you're tagging AXPONA, you're using our hashtags, and we're doing the same. So we're obviously building that audience and making sure everybody knows that you're part of this year's show. I would say another thing about beforehand is we will email you the media list in mid-March. I think we ask the media to opt in. So if they want to be contacted, which most do, they will send your email. We'll make sure you guys have that so you can do your own PR outreach. And I know Walter mentioned about writing a press release and making sure once you get that list to send it right away, because as you can imagine, they're getting lots of information from different exhibitors. On site at AXPONA, I think how to be prepared to talk to the media. As you can imagine, there's lots of media, lots of rooms, lots of things you can do. And we just want to make sure you're cognizant of being respectful to the media and to their time, because they're going to stop by lots of listening rooms. I think an introduction, hi, I'm Sophia, I represent whatever it is, Sophia & Co. Let me know if you have any questions. Pick a spokesperson. If you don't have a PR person on your team, is there someone who's great to talk to the press, who could represent your brand? And also talking points. I think that I love the one-sheeter that they're talking about. Walter and Jason mentioned, kind of outlining what's new in the room. I think there should be talking points about your brand and what is new, what's exciting. Is this the first time you're debuting a product at AXPONA? Is this the first time in North America? Those are what the media is really looking for. They want to see what's new and exciting. Another tip I would have is post AXPONA. I think that you're obviously going to meet lots of people. You're going to talk to lots of, attendees and also press. And I think if you didn't get to meet Jason, let's say in your room, I would make sure you send an email to him after saying, I don't think we connected on site, but I want to make sure I make that connection. PR is all about relationships and making connections. And I think AXPONA is a unique opportunity to get in front of a really great audience of press. And I think once you kind of make that connection over email, I think that really goes a long way and says, hey, if you didn't stop by, I'd love to set up a call. I'd love to do kind of a video chat so I can show you what we're about. And yeah, and I would also say Natalie and I are always available if you have questions. So if you need help writing a press release, if you have questions about developing a pitch, we're always happy to kind of give you advice, because that's what we're here for.
Could I just say one thing about press releases, which I'm sure you're going to tell anybody who asks, but you want all the relevant information in the first paragraph and in the title. And when you send it out to someone as an attachment, you could call it press release, or you could say brand X, this floor, this room. Let me tell you, brand X, this floor, this room, when I hit save, I look at that, I know right where to go. So that would be my title of my press release, like in Word or in PDF form, and get it all up front, because we're busy and we don't have time to read sometimes every precious word, just like you don't have time to read every precious word that I write, which I well understand.
And I would just add, sometimes when I send out a press release, I put it in the body of the email, because a lot of media actually don't want to open attachments. So they won't open attachment, and they won't open any kind of JPEG links, because they don't want their inbox full. So I always do a Dropbox link to images, and also I put in the body of the email, the actual press release.
Yeah, that's a great point. Attachments get blocked a lot too. Kind of like business model.
If I may, I just wanted to address something that Jason had mentioned very, very briefly, and that's managing those who, for lack of a better term, disrupt a demo. Everybody's had that one person that walks in during the demo when you've got a press member in the front row, and they walk up to the speaker and they start taking photographs in front of the speaker. It's like, hello, there's 50 people behind you listening. Not a lot you can do about that except to wait it out. But if somebody asks a question during a demo, what I normally do is I'll walk over to them quietly and just say, hey, let's bring this conversation into the hall. If a tune is winding down and I need to put something else on, I'll say, hey, I have to put on a new song. When I do that, let's go into the hall and I'll answer your questions. And that usually works quite well. The other thing that I wanted to mention is my good friend Bess Navier piped in, and he wanted to make sure that the point was made that not all the people in attendance are technical. So getting too technical in your presentation. Again, a couple of bullet points about the USPs, unique selling propositions about each thing in your presentation. But if you get too technical, you're going to lose a lot of people. So that's kind of the follow-up I had. Bess, thanks for chatting me on that point. Good point. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Bess. All right. We've got some time left. So if there's any questions, please throw them in the Q&A function, so we can answer your questions. Really good tips there. Sophia, you talked about you mentioned you talked about photos, but we also talked a little bit about video, and kind of when everyone's thinking about promoting pre-show, good thing to keep in mind is using video on social media wherever possible. It's really what's standing out now in feeds, and it's so critical.
And I would just make sure the videos are 30 seconds or less, and so it's easy to post and people will watch it and they won't get bored. So that would be my tip.
Yeah, absolutely. All about video.
I want to acknowledge, as someone of the press, because I saw there was just one question. As someone in the press, I want to acknowledge that there are the press people who are only there to take photos. They're not really listening, and they walk in and they do disrupt the presentation. I try to be a press person who doesn't do that. Sometimes I'm singled out. Oh, Jason's here. And I like it in a way, It's nice to be acknowledged. I appreciate when someone will politely say, could he possibly sit here because they're in the sweet spot? And I really appreciate it when I take any seat anywhere and someone says, that's the bad row. Hold on, I'll move you up as soon as I can. Because it makes a difference.
All right, so we're getting some questions. Let's see. So one of them was, do we have volume level suggestions for different types of music?
Yes, yes. What we normally do is we assemble a playlist, usually the evening before the show opens, after everything is set up, because every exhibit room sounds different songs, different kinds of music sounds better. You try to get a variety, something classical, something jazz, rock and roll, new music. It's always wonderful to have music that people have not heard before. Unlike the Keith Please Go and Diana Krall, which makes wonderful recordings. But what I usually do is set the volume level for each particular cut and note where it sounds best with a reasonable amount of people in the room.
Could I note on that, Walter, that set the volume level sitting in the seats, not standing up on the side.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. And I tend to go lower than loud. A lot of people get driven out of the room if it's too loud, especially if it's music they don't like. So I tend to be a bit conservative enough to express the dynamic of the system and have it sound like it's impactful, but not super loud. But I usually do it per cut because we all know that the hotness or the gain on individual cuts or songs are different. So take it, determine the volume, like Jason said at the listening position, mark the volume so that when you're doing your demo, you can get it to the volume that you've predetermined. Hope that helps.
And I will ask people to turn like up classical if they have big speakers and it's a full symphony orchestra and it's like the orchestra sounds like it's this big. I mean, it's a full symphony orchestra, but I realize that some exhibitors have never sat in a good seat in front of a symphony orchestra. It is loud, folks. It is incredibly loud. And sometimes, it's at the limit when the horns are all blasting and everything, and you have a big Mahler or Wagnerian size orchestra. And so you shortchange the music because some music wants that and some rock does, but that doesn't mean it has to be that level. And if you sit in the seats, you'll have a sense of what that volume level is, what's appropriate.
A couple of other questions that are here. Why do so many exhibitors use up-firing landscape lighting in their spaces, from Dan Phillips? Because it looks good. It can be overdone, but it certainly highlights the product appropriately. Again, it can be overdone. And you want to make sure if you are using landscape lighting, that it's turned away from people sitting down and listening. You don't want lights glaring in people's faces. Make sure that it is focused on the equipment and highlights the equipment.
Thanks, Walter. Another question just was like, what to do if the room next door is too loud? I'd start by just being, asking your neighbor to be a good neighbor and turn down the volume. If it is an issue, you can alert any member of the AXPONA staff, and we'll talk to them. We do have recommended decibel limits for the rooms to try to make everyone be a good neighbor.
And as a reminder, there are sleeping rooms in between the rooms, but there are folks that still play too loud for others.
Mm-hmm. Closing the hallway doors helps too. Okay. Another question was just how how to attract attendees to, I guess if you're exhibiting at a table, kind of meaning like the expo hall or ear gear. I mean, with that, I feel like a lot of good rules for, you know, traffic drivers really help. You know, having a giveaway, having a special, see if you can have a special guest in your booth at some time, because that's gonna, you know, that's gonna draw people there. You know, advertising helps. Also, just make sure you fill out that PR survey that Sophia was talking about, because that gets the word out, that helps you stand out. And, you know, we do publicize all the different areas of the show, and, you know, attendees do make their way around the expo hall and ear gear in order to just, like, you know, cross through the whole show, get something to eat. But thinking about your table, like, you know, your exhibit, how to make that stand out, whether it's like a really cool backdrop, creating some ambience there. That way, when someone's walking through, they get drawn in. So those are kind of my recommendations there. Any other thoughts from anyone?
I would say, yeah, if you could share with us what you're doing in your booth, because we're going to be doing social media throughout the entire show. So if you say at 3 o'clock on, you know, Friday afternoon, you're having a guest speaker or you're doing something special, there's a deal you're promoting, we'll make sure to promote it on our social media channels and drive traffic to your space.
Also, there are opportunities for sponsorship of the show itself at AXPONA that could get you a little bit more visibility, perhaps in those areas, but perhaps around the show as well, directing people to your booth. I know that they probably didn't want to mention it here, so I'm doing it for you. But yeah, there are other opportunities to get your booth and what you're doing and what you're exhibiting out to the masses.
Thanks. You can contact me and I could send you a link of what's available.
Okay, and then this, another exhibitor asked about, this is fun. You know, they have a special guest in the room, so I'm gonna kind of make this a little broad, but, you know, how to announce it widely. I go back to that PR survey. Like, if we know about it, we're gonna spread the word. And Sophia really talked about the social media, but also, because, you know, everyone on here is an exhibitor, so you might not even realize this. I actually send emails to everyone who's bought a ticket in the weeks leading up to the show. So they're kind of like almost like ticket buyer newsletters to help everyone get excited. And I pull that info too from that, where we highlight different things going on in the room. So just kind of send us info, because we use it. We help get the word out. And then to echo that again, if you want to announce something widely, sponsorship also, you know, supports that. But we do a lot of stuff for free to make just
the AXPONA people. I mean, I am delighted to see Liz every year, because the AXPONA people really have their act together and follow their model, because what they're doing to promote their show is how you can promote your brand.
Thank you.
I wholeheartedly agree with that, especially working closely with AXPONA. They do have their act together. You're right, Jason. And they've got quite a formidable team. So they can certainly help you out. Hey, there's one question here that's still open.
Yeah.
I find this one interesting.
The subwoofer one. How best to engage with an exhibitor from next door if they're too loud. So again, I go back to, you know, start by just asking your neighbor to be a good neighbor and, you know, lower the volume, and otherwise let us know. We have our ops team, you know, walking the floors. You'll get cell phone numbers when you arrive. Not sure, are there any other tips that you have, Walter?
Well, you know, it's not usually best to engage with them directly.
Oh, okay.
I mean, the room next door. It's just not an appropriate thing. Sometimes people get a little bit perturbed. Advising the AXPONA staff is certainly the best way to go about it.
Yeah, I mean, we're always happy to
resolve.
Yeah, we're always happy to jump in.
Yeah, and I mean, I give up, you know, I love classical chamber music, you know, where it gets really soft. And I may put something on and I'll just look at the exhibitor and say, oh, we can't possibly listen to this, because the guy across the hallway has his door open and he's showing you just how much his subwoofers can woof. And you're right. I totally get it. And, same thing with the neighbor with the barking dog. It's often better to call the police than engage the neighbor because you don't know what's going to happen with that neighbor. So I suppose I hate to think of Mark and Liz and Sophia as the police, but you know what I mean.
Oh, that's what we're here for. We want everyone to have a great experience. And actually with that, we are at the end of our time. So, thank you everyone for logging in. Huge thank you to Sophia, Walter, and Jason for signing on to this and sharing your expertise. I really do feel like this discussion was candid. Everyone, everyone's been to shows and we're like sharing some great tips and really understanding the industry and like what this is all about. But at the end of the day, we really want everyone to reach their goals and be successful at the show. And so we're here to help. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's been an honor. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.